First, I'll give a brief summary of this scenario. Eric is a hard-working student. However, he has two issues that he think is not good. The first issue is that during the professor's lecture, there are group discussions during the lecture, and students always discuss problems, discuss things with the professor. However, Eric think this is kind of useless, and he always regard this useless, and he think this will interrupt the professor's lecture. And the second thing is that about the online discussion. I think Eric is kind of shy, and he regard online discussion as an important tool for him to communicate with his professor and his classmates. And there is one unhappy thing that happens among him and his classmates. He think one of his classmates gave disrespectful questions on his country, while the professor just comment this thing as a very lively discussion, and the classmates also told Eric that this so-called disrespect question has been misunderstood by Eric. And last, Eric got a good grade, which is B of his final exam. However, the professor think Eric didn't show enough effort during the whole period of the class, and I think Eric feel very unfair about this.
As it is mentioned here in the class syllabus, the course syllabus, tests and quizzes will have 50% of the grade, and class participation and online discussion will have the rest. So maybe Eric got that bad grade because he wasn't participate in the class, and he wasn't participate online after he got an unrespectable comment after he posted about some news about his country. So I think the professor, maybe he didn't know that Eric have thought like this, and he wasn't like the class participation during the lecture. So I think Eric had to share his point of view and his feeling with the professors during that course, so he can avoid this kind of problem.
First of all, I think there is some problem with Eric, because he knows that his test course is going to be 50% of his marks is going to be on test, and rest of the 50% is going for class participation and online discussion. He was sure about that, and still he was interested in participation also. But later, because of some confusion, he avoided participating. Sometimes we cannot expect all people to be like us. People will be of different kind. We cannot expect everybody to answer for our question, or we cannot expect everybody to participate in the class discussion forum or something else. So as a student, we have to be on our own. We have to put our efforts to get higher grades, because these grades are going to stay with us for longer. They're not the students. So we have to take our own effort, and to score higher grades, we should at least ignore some kind of miscommunications, and we should we have to move on. We have to continue our studies. So this even works in offices, in other places as well, because I think he is an international student. If we are choosing to come to other country to do study or work, we should, we cannot expect all the people to have same idea what we have. So we should be little more flexible, and we should not be so sensitive towards small things that may really will make us tough in some kind of situation, and it will make us feel like quitting from that. So he should be a little more strong, and he should actively participated in that instead of quitting.
Okay. I think Eric may probably come from a culture of shyness. Since the first thing I found out that Eric actually wants to communicate with his classmates and the professor, but he he referred to the online discussion, since he think during the online discussion he cannot see the professor, he cannot see the classmates, but can talk freely with them. However, the fact is that the professor may be kind of lazy, just as what it was said on the scenario, and he got very disappointed, and maybe because of some kind of misunderstanding, he had kind of a conflict with that disrespect classmate, and after that he also made even worse decision, which is not to communicate with that student anymore. I think this is much worse and make things even worse. And also, Eric seems an outsider of the classroom. Although he listened to the professor and attend every class, very hardworking, but he has kind of few communication with the classmates and the teachers, which is really bad. And maybe because of his ways of thinking, I think he think the professor's comments are important. However, the classmates' comments are valueless, are useless. I think he needs to do something to change his mind, to change his way of thinking.
I think also the part of the problem because of the professor comment, because when he saw that the student that one student posted a respectable comment about the Arab countries, I think the professor should wrote some comment that make Iraq feel better, not just to say it was a lively discussion. I think he might say be respectable to each other and don't hurt others' feeling, even if they made it without not on purpose. So I think that contribute to make the problem worse for the Iraq. He felt that the professor also agree with the other student because he said it's a lively discussion and no comment about his feeling or about the other student comment, and that I think that's what made Arak feel bad.
So, as far as my knowledge, like most of the professors, they want to play safe. They will not interfere in problems like this with the students, because they encourage the students to come up and to solve their problem on their own, because they mostly professors will wait for the students' response, what they are responding, and whether they are asking sorry if it hurted or something.
But all the students, he felt that all students shot him down.
No, like the other student who convinced Arab by saying that the student was actually misinterpreted and it was a mistake. One student came up and convinced Arab, but still he was not convinced. So he could have taken it as a joke or something. He can also comment them back by saying with some sense of humor, so that it can avoid such kind of problem.
But I think, like I need to say, Arak wants the professor to say something. He values the professor comment, but when the professor didn't say anything, he felt bad.
That will make him bad, but still, like what I can say is, as we are an adult, we cannot expect the other adult to come and convince us, because we know everything. It's not like we are in kindergarten or in first grade or second grade. So I think we can solve this problem. This is not a big problem or something. Still, we can go ahead and solve it by having some friendly kind of discussion. In that way we can solve. And anyway, if he is not participating on class discussion, then anyway he is going to get affected. His grades are going lower, and that is not that doesn't have any impact on this problem, because anyway he is still on the problem. He hasn't solved it yet. Instead of staying with that problem, he can at least volunteer himself and moving forward, and he can go and talk with the other classmates, and he can explain that he is very sensitive towards their question or posting, because we should take some initiative. Unless until nobody will come and feed us. I think it's a problem with Arak, and he is still reserved. I don't think he is having any language problem, but he is shy. So if he is strong in language, he can communicate well.
I don't think he was shy, because he wanted to participate, and he was very excited about online discussion, and he wanted to participate in the class, but he thought that the student participate in a rude way. They interrupt the professor when she was talking, and they trying to get out of the topic. Because of that, he wasn't participate in the classes. He thought that was rude.
I think I want to talk more about your opinion. How to say, to me, I'm a Chinese student and I'm an international student here. And I think what Alec thinks and does is kind of the way that many Chinese students do. When I have classes in China, some students always, not some, just a few students have some questions. They pumped up. I use pumped up since we other students always think that students asking the question is kind of a waste of time. We don't want to waste our time on that person, since we think only we should pay attention to is what the professor, what the instructors say, not the student. They are useless. Why should we listen to him? That's what we think. And however, every students, not every, many students, from many different cultures, many of them want to be very active, want to communicate with others. But from my culture, for example, we always don't want to talk with the professor, to ask questions freely during the class, we always prefer to write a letter or have a so-called online discussion with our classmates and our professors. We think this first, because we are shy. Under these circumstances, we won't see others. We can talk more freely, and it's also not a waste of time for others, since other people can choose to see your comments or not. Yeah, but however, since every time there exists some so-called bad, some so-called rude comment on that, I think for these problems we need to have deeper communication, more communication to handle this problem. Yeah. Thank you.
As for this scenario states that in the classroom the students are distracting the professor and making him to go off the track. He doesn't like that because they are not talking related to the subject or something. So he feels that is a waste of time, so he is taking his break during that class discussion. But instead of that, he can personally go to the professor and he can say like he wants some kind of productive discussion during the class instead of having some fun or off-track discussion. So he can go to the professor, or even in the classroom he can say at least 2 times or 3 times we are going off the track. Can we start our subjects? He can straight away say instead of.
Excuse me, I don't understand. You mean under these circumstances,
Yeah.
Eric can talk with the
He
professor?
can talk with professor, or he can straight away say in the classroom that we are not talking something related to our subjects.
Okay.
Because like if we say it 3 times or 4 times, definitely they'll stop it. Definitely they'll start a good discussion instead of having some fun or jokes.
I think that Arak is a sensitive one, because his feeling is always were sensitive in this situation, and maybe I think he should adapt himself to that class and try to benefit from others' experience, because he didn't like other student opinion and discussion. I think if he adapt himself to that class and to maybe if he can force himself to listen to them and participate with them, and if he went to the professor and share his feeling with the professor, that would help to avoid this problem and to solve it before it happens.
I can't answer your question from the perspective of Chinese students. First, you said Eric can directly go to talk with the professor about the things. How to say, to Chinese students, it's kind of rude, for Chinese students to talk the professor about this. They always think the professors are always right. The professor chose to talk freely. It's their, how to say, it's their right. It's right. It's their right, and it's right. It's correct. And we always think if we do so, the professor may have a bad impression on you, which is not good for your grade or other things. They think these are disrespectful. And I also want to talk a little more about this requirements. How to say, to me, the first time I came to the United States, I see the requirements, the syllabus of the ELC. There are also things like this on the sheet. I how does it, I see it, I read it, but I forgot it just after it. Since I naturally think only the final grades are very important. Other things are much less important. And there's one thing I want to mention, that in my high school and also in other high school, our teachers told us that you can choose to attend my class or not. I will not charge you. I will not criticize you if you have a good grade on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That means if you have a good final grade, that means
grade,
you can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, in Saudi perspective, when if this problem happened and I went to the professor, I think I would waste her time. I think this is not from her business. I can fix this problem in my own. I shouldn't come to her office and bother her by a small problem. So this is what we think always. But in American culture, I think if you in this situation, if Arak went to the professor, she will understand his situation and she will help him and she will appreciate that he come to her and share with her his opinion and his feeling. I think in American culture, this is the best way to fix this problem.
For my understanding, first of all, as per American culture, it's a free country. You can ask any questions, even if you are not right. And as an adult, we can go and discuss our problem with the professor. First of all, he can go and discuss his problem with the professor. If he keep himself away from that problem, he has to be always stay away, because he will not get good grades or he has to discontinue his course. He don't have any other option. He has to go and talk, because he's left with no option. So he has to first go and talk to the professor, or he can get adjusted to the classmates, and later he can explain the situation in a friendly way to their classmates, instead of making disagreements with their classmates. He can take a friendly kind of way to solve this problem. And the third thing, at least he can fake it, and if he is not interested in that, he can fake still, because he needs his grades, because these students, they are not going to stay with him for life. It is only for three months or something. So the grade is the main thing for everybody. So he can at least fake, or he can act like he is interested in the class discussion kind of thing. And if he doesn't like to post comments for others, he can be a first one to post some good thing about the class lecture or something. Instead of commenting to other students, he can give a statement, and later the other students can comment for his idea or something, instead of commenting to other students. He should not keep himself away from that situation. Right.
Any questions? Please. Please. Does Eric understand the purpose of the class discussions? No.
According to this, no.
Why? What do you think the underlying problem is?
The student can learn from each other when they discuss any issue or any topic. So Eric doesn't share his knowledge or what he learned with others.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the problem for his bad grade.
Mm-hmm.
Eric didn't know the importance of communicating with others.
Mhm.
The second thing is, just a second.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, the second thing is his response after such bad things happen. These bad things refer to the rude, disrespect comments from his classmates that he thinks is rude.
Mhm.
His reaction to this is even worse. He need to talk with both professor and classmates.
Mhm.
These classmates and other classmates. Yeah.
I think apart from this class, even in workplace, we cannot expect any moderator to solve the problem between two colleagues or something, because only in colleges or school we can expect our professor or teacher to come and solve our problem. So like if we go to our office or something, we have to solve our problem by ourselves, or we have to quit the job. So this is a kind of lesson we can learn from the college. So that's why professor, they will not mostly interfere in the problems with the students or class discussion forum. They'll wait for the students to come up their own ideas. Only at the final exams or final result, they'll give their comments. They will analyze like how these people are behaving until the whole term, and what's the difference they are having in the first test or until the last test. So I think the professor will take time to analyze the student until the end of the term.
Okay, I think we're good.